Hi, I'm Henry Thomas, and I play Henry Wingrave.
Hi, I'm Victoria Pedretti, and I play Danny Clayton.
Hi, I'm Oliver Jackson-Cohen, and I play Peter Quint.
Hi, I'm Amelia Eve, and I play Jamie.
Hi, I'm Tania Miller, and I play Hannah Gross in Haunting of Bly Manor.
And we're here with BuzzFeed to answer your burning questions.
But warning, spoiler alert.
So you haven't watched it, just go back, watch it, and come back again.
All of the Lady of the Lake scenes were so terrifying and amazing. Was Kate Siegel in those scenes? How did you film them? Kate Siegel was not in those scenes. An incredible, strong, tall, athletic woman named Daniela did all of those scenes. Being dragged by the Lady of the Lake was a really complicated thing to accomplish. I personally felt a bit like a puppet. We were rigged up on so many strings going in different directions.
I get choked out by the Lady of the Lake.
We're all victims of the Lady of the Lake. It's not fun being dragged along by that because you are on this kind of insane contraption.
Tania, did you know Hannah was going to be dead the entire time? And if not, when did you find out?
I didn't know at all. Mike and Lynn Falcon, who's our costume designer, because we're trying to plan costumes ahead of shooting, were asking, have I read episode 5? Have I read episode 5? And I was like, no, I haven't read episode 5 yet. I'm going to get to it, I promise. And when it came up, I was like, I'm a ghost. Oh my God, I'm a ghost. That's so super cool. I've never played a ghost before. And then came the daunting question, how do you play a ghost?
We see what looks like Danny's hand on Jamie's shoulder at the very end of the series. Do you think Danny visited Jamie before, or was this the first time?
I think Danny is always with Jamie.
I think yes, but I think also when she goes to Bly, it's all that much more palpable. Because after all, it is the haunting of Bly Manor and not the haunting of Jamie's shoulder.
I believe that Danny's been with Jamie the whole time, ever since Jamie sees her under the water. She hasn't left her. However, I don't think Jamie knows necessarily. I think Danny was so keen to absorb all of this bad energy and not let it ever affect anybody else again. She was so selfless in that respect. And Jamie's quite a selfless person. So I think if Jamie could have, she would have taken it off of Danny, but Danny wouldn't let her. And so that's why Danny doesn't let Jamie know that she's there, but she is there this whole time. And I feel like this whole story, the whole of the Haunting of Bly Manor story that's encompassed within that story that the narrator tells, is the first time that Jamie would have really delved back into that memory and pulled it all out, and a bit of a catharsis of sort. But it's open to interpretation.
Oliver, what was it like working with Benjamin? And did you help him come up with how Miles would act when Peter was in control?
He's incredible. With all of the stuff with Peter and Miles, we would sit down and I would do the scene. I would read the Miles lines as Peter, and then he would kind of copy it. And then when we would go to shoot, I would basically be just off camera, try and kind of help directing, because it's quite a hard thing to us at like a 10, 11-year-old to suddenly be a 35-year-old.
If Hannah didn't die, do you think her and Owen would have tried being in a relationship? Do you think they would have lasted as long as Dani and Jamie?
Yeah, I think that Hannah hasn't been touched by a man for so long that once she started to getting some, she would have been holding on to her man for dear life.
Victoria, do you have a favorite Dani and Jamie scene?
I personally really like the moonflower scene. It really says something that Jamie, who keeps everything so private, takes the time to water their flower, to try to cultivate this relationship and open up and be vulnerable.
I really like filming the one in our flower shop. It was like a promising moment for them finally. Everything had been a bit of a trial up until then, and someone was always a bit down and someone was pulling somebody else up, and so it was finally a moment where we both just got to be happy in this relationship, and it was really beautiful.
Peter couldn't leave Bly even when he was inside of Rebecca. Why do you think Dani could leave with the Lady of the Lake inside of her?
I actually don't know.
Because Rebecca fully consents. She allows it. They get fully integrated.
Yeah.
Amelia, did you know going in that Carla Gugino was going to portray an older Jamie? No. I really didn't. And You think my grin is big now? You should have seen it that day that I found out that Carla was going to play the older Jamie. I had a conversation with my mum and I was like, Mum, if there's any chance I book this role for Bly Manor, imagine if I got to work with Carla Gugino. How cool would that be? And I was so excited. And then to find out she's going to play the older version of my character, I was like,
Having Carla Gugino around it's like
It's
you're
the
the luckiest
best.
person in the world. You're just like, how do I get to be in the presence of this human being? And it was the most incredible, beautiful thing to finish that season and watch her being Jamie and loving Dani. It meant like, oh my God, it was like really touching.
It's nice when Carla Gugino likes you.
I know.
In real life or fictionally.
The residents of Bly Manor are all so close and become a found family. What's your favourite memory from set?
Oh, yeah. Do you remember the batter scene? So,
Yeah, I do.
the kitchen scenes are always the most fun because it's like herding cattle or getting us to behave.
Yeah.
Children were actually very well behaved. It was the adults. But there was one particular day where Owen's making a cake. Benjamin, who plays Miles, doesn't do sugar. You know, I'm just thinking about this when COVID and everything. There's this big thing of batter. We shot it about 5 times and we're all dipping our finger into this batter. I've got OCDs. I was like,
Licking the spoon.
licking the spoon again and again and again. I didn't change that bowl between takes. It's one shot you see as it is. Ben was just getting high and high on batter. He was wild. He was like bouncing off the ceiling. It was hilarious. And then the whole thing crashed. And then these guys, you, Amelia, I think you started it. You started the food fight in the kitchen. I ended up covered in flour.
Did you have a favourite hidden ghost this season?
Yes. My favorite ghost was the soldier.
My favorite ghost was the plague doctor.
That was my favourite ghost too.
Really? I thought you were gonna say the child.
No, that was a bit too creepy.
I think mine was Soldier Guy.
My favourite ghost were the Dollface boys. There was 3 of them playing
my
Dollface boys, and they were just, they were the cutest, most incredible sweet children.
Terrifying.
Do you identify more with your character from Hill House or your character from Bly Manor?
I think I'd have to identify more with Hugh Crane than Henry Wingrave, just because I'm more from Hugh Crane's world.
Similarly, I feel like the world I come from or live in, I guess, is a bit more similar to Nell than to Dani, but I don't find it difficult to relate to Dani.
I feel like I relate more to Luke Crane than I do Peter Quint.
Tania, what was it like filming the scene with Owen and Hannah in the kitchen over and over again? And why do you think that was such a special memory for Hannah?
She fell in love with him. She says it right at the end. This moment right here, I thought, what a beautiful, incredible, sweet man. And it's the first time that since the parting of her husband that she felt that.
Henry, how was it playing 2 different versions of the same character?
Well, it was very exciting. It was very challenging because obviously I had to know both sides of the scene, but the way that we filmed them was very difficult because once you got a take that we could use for one side, then we were locked into that performance. It was probably the most calculating that I've ever had to do on set in terms of scene work, but I'm really proud of the scenes.
Did you keep anything from set?
I get some earrings. I don't know if I'm not true.
I got one of Jamie's dresses, which was cool. One that was made for me because it was just a massive dress and then they pinned it and fit it and shaped it to fit me.
There are some subtle references to Hill House that fans might pick up on. Do you have a favorite reference?
I think when Rahul and Tania are discussing what's happening and they're trying to figure out what's happening and Mrs. Gross is kind of in this other reality because she's dead. And they're just like, and time, and they don't say falls around you like confetti, but they just keep almost getting to it.
Bly Manor was a gorgeous location. So how much of the season was shot on location versus what was built on a set?
I think half and half.
I think because they separated it out into floors, we had the whole of the upstairs in one set, and then downstairs was all one set too. So it felt like the downstairs of the house. The exterior itself as well was filmed next to a weed farm, which was just brilliant.
Thank you, BuzzFeed.
Go watch The Haunting of Bly Manor now, available on Netflix.
We'll see you there.